thanks in the end.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. So, Samrin, I'll start then. Welcome everyone to this session today. We welcome you all over here on behalf of FICCI Arise and iDream Career. I'm Ayush from iDream Career, and we welcome you to this webinar. We hope you are keeping safe, taking the precaution, keeping yourself distant from others, and I hope everyone is keeping safe at home. So to not waste time and move forward, we have already shared the agenda for the today's session, and I'm humbled to again introduce Mr. Swarup, who do not require an introduction, but I would just start with a brief introduction, and I'll request him to start the session with a speech. Mr. Swarup joined IS in 1981 and served in various key positions for both the Union government and the government of Uttar Pradesh, including Education Secretary of India, Coal Secretary of India, Additional Secretary in the Cabinet Secretariat of India, Additional Secretary of Labor and Employment Empowerment, Export Commissioner in the Ministry of Commerce, and as a District Magistrate of Lakshmipur Kheri. In his current avatar, he has founded Nexus of Good Foundation, and also has authored a book with the name Not Just a Civil Servant, which has become a bestseller in the country. Thank you, sir, for joining us today. We really appreciate you to give time today. I would request if you could start the session on this topic, sir. Over to you.
Everyone, we are all going through a bit of tough time, but I am sure the children, the parents, the teachers are making best use of the time that is available. Now, obviously, physically, we have been distanced by law, and we have in this country that can enable us to make the best use of the time that is available with us. What is most encouraging is the number of applications that are coming to the fore that can be utilized. And I would like to take this opportunity to mention some of them to you. And my suggestion to the parents, to the teachers, to the principals, and to the owners of the school is that make the best use of this technology. I'm assuming that most of you have smartphones, which I think is there in every house, if not more than one, then at least one in every house. And if you can make use of that time and the technology that is available, I think you can at your home itself, you can learn a lot which you would have otherwise learned in the school. So my suggestion to you is look at some of these platforms. I think the best platform that we have now is the one that has been launched by the government. It's called Diksha, D-I-K-S-H-A. If you type this on Google, it will take you to that platform. And on Diksha platform, there are programs, there are applications available for an organization called Center Square Foundation today. And they have come up with a very interesting application, which is called Tic Tac. And if you go to this application, there are programs and pages available for from classes 1 to 10, and with mathematics and literature and otherwise. So my suggestion to all of you is to make best use of the time that is available to you. The other option is to feel bad about what's happening. But I think this is something over which none of us had any control. It has happened to the country. But I'm glad that almost everyone that I come across and I talk to and I speak with and interact with on the social media is fairly upbeat in terms of making the best use of the time that is available. And that is what I am suggesting to you. In whichever state that you are, wherever you are, I don't think there is dearth of information that is available on the web. The problem could be that there's so much information that sometimes it may be difficult for you to navigate through that information. In that sense, I think this platform that I was talking of, Tic Tac, is very good. There are some other nice applications. There is a company called Indianica. It's this company which has taken over from Britannica. You must have heard about this Britannica, the original company of Encyclopedia Britannica, which was known world over. This has now been taken over by an Indian company, and they have come up with online classes. And whatever I'm talking, they're all free classes available at no cost to you. My suggestion to parents and teachers is that please make out a schedule for every child. Parents should work out a schedule in consultation with the teachers. Teachers amongst themselves can work out, and as they do in their classrooms, they can actually have 2 to 3 hours every day, clearly worked out for every child. And if you can structure it in an appropriate manner, then instead of a child learning randomly, picking up something from the YouTube or elsewhere, they would be able to study and benefit in a structured manner. Some schools are doing it. I know of many schools that are in touch with me. They have come up with their own structured program, and they feel that this is a boon, this is an opportunity for them, for the children to rest at home and yet learn a lot. In fact, this has given them opportunity to think about new forms of reaching out to children. Some of them were suggesting to me, it may not be necessary for the children to come every day to school. They can come probably alternative day, and the infrastructure could be used for twice as many children. Now, I'm not saying that should be the way forward, but what I'm suggesting is that whereas this virus is a threat to this country, I think in other contexts, it's an opportunity for a lot of us to think innovatively and see how EdTech could be used. The second bit that I would suggest to you is that you can look and think about your future as well. And in this sense, I'm confident that there are a number of platforms available that can give you career guidance. And I hope iDream does it today as well, to give you some idea as to how you can think about your future. You know, many of us are not very clear as to what we should be doing as we approach class 9, 10, 11, 12, as what should be our future plan, what should we be doing? Sometimes we, under the pressure of our parents or our peer group or the society in general, we adopt an approach which is not suitable to us. Now, today, there are tools available for you to ascertain as to what would be the best for you as per your own desire, your liking, your inclinations. You can determine as to where you should go. And I'm sure that iDream in its presentation would be able to convey that. So I won't take much of your time. In fact, I would like to take some questions if there are. And I will say all the best to you. Make best of the time that is available to you. Use technology to the hilt. We are fortunate in this country to have the technology. We are fortunate to have a good internet connectivity in most of the parts of the country. Make best use of it and enjoy yourself. That's very important. And all of you are tough. Please do that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. We'll be taking up queries, very soon on live YouTube. But before that, we received a set of many queries from the almost about 600 registration that we have received. And I like to put forward some of the queries which were very much in, common queries, I would say, because a lot of school leaders, ask similar queries. So the first query and the question is, what should we do with our teachers' motivation? Teachers' motivation is a key concern right now while schools are closing down and teachers are working from home and teaching from home. This is a query asked by Mr. Samarth from SBM School. Sir, over to you to answer this query.
Teachers have to lead from the front. To them would be to see how some of them amongst themselves, there would be many teachers who are self-motivated and trying to do things. They will have to motivate themselves to do things. Secondly, what they should do is form into WhatsApp groups. Many teachers have done that, and engage with others, engage with children, engage with principals. I think it's the consistent engagement that will keep the morale high. It is when you are alone and you feel lonely, that's where the trouble is. You engage with others because there's a lot that is happening in the virtual sphere, on the internet. A lot is happening. So if you keep engaged with your peer groups, with others, with teachers, you can learn a lot from each other. And from there on, you can actually look forward to devising strategies for your own children. So unless you are yourself inspired, which you can seek inspiration from your own colleagues, you will not be able to inspire the children. I think most of the motivation is required for the children. And if the teachers themselves are not motivated, they would find it very difficult to motivate the children.
Right, sir. Right. Very, very rightly said, sir. Second query from Anupam Singh from Swami Vivekanand School, Bombay. How to cope up with the financial loss during this crisis? As a school, obviously schools would incur a lot of financial loss. How should they effectively manage their finances during this crisis?
This is something which the whole country is grappling with. A lot of economic activity has come to a grinding halt. I would not believe that a fee shall not be paid. If fee doesn't get paid, then there could be problem, because fee would have to be paid. There would be ways and means in which you will have to work out as to how to you cut down on your expenditure. So that's something which you will have to look at. But yes, each one of you will have to think in terms of cutting down your own expenses, all other expenses that you have, economize on things which you would have otherwise done. You have to work out your own strategy for working out in the limited means that you have.
So the next query is from Mr. A.K. Desai from Navy Education Society. How do we improve student engagement level in online learning? And one of the key issues with student is the attention power, especially when it's a screen based learning, right? Well, while the learning is happening in mobile phones and tablets and laptops, how do we really improve the attention power and student engagement level?
My understanding of a child today is that he's most attentive on his telephone. I think he's not as attentive in the class. The strategy should be to come up with such application, as I mentioned some of them, where a child who's already attached to a telephone is able to learn along with it. I don't think there is a problem of attention on telephone. I mean, the children that I see today are so engrossed in the telephones. Now the point is that their attitude towards being engrossed towards this telephone, can that time be best utilized for them also to learn? So I don't think there is a major problem in getting them engaged, so to say, but to engage them fruitfully in terms of learning, that is a bit of a challenge. And that is where I think the applications that I mentioned and some other applications that they are there could be of enormous help to teachers as well as students for them to learn.
Right, sir. Right, sir. So the next query is, in this entire situation now, students and teachers are not able to move out of their home. And we as a country, are also facing a lot of issues related to mental health, especially among students and teachers. So one of the queries, how do we really cope up with that? How as a school can we empower our students and teachers to deal with mental health issues?
This is a tough ask, but uh, loneliness can be a killer, and that is why, if you recall, in my opening address, I had mentioned about engaging with everyone. And fortunately, we have the technology, we have the applications where we can engage with each other. My emphasis on teachers engaging with amongst themselves, my emphasis on teachers engaging with children, this engagement, this dialogue, this continuous dialogue is extremely important, because whether a child or a teacher left alone, he will start brooding, and that's where the mental problems start. So my suggestion would be engage with as many people as possible, engage fruitfully if you can, but engage nonetheless. That's most important.
Very rightly said. Engagement is the important key over here. Um, the next query is very common query, sir, and this is something that obviously you might have also faced during your stint in the MHRD, which is how do we really empower teachers to use online teaching? While a lot of tech solutions are coming up, the need is obviously how do we really see teachers using this tech solution and platform? What else can schools do to to really see that teachers start using online platform and edtech solutions?
Ayush, have we lost Anil ji?
Uh, Sir, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Sir, we lost you
We
in
use
the middle.
programs
Yeah.
and
Sir, we can see you and hear you now. Sir, can you hear us? Audience, please just wait for 30 seconds. I think he's getting back and connecting back again. Sir, can you hear us now?
can you hear me now? Hello?
Yeah, I can. Yes, sir,
Hello?
we can hear you now. We can hear you now. Yes, sir, we can hear you now.
Okay. Okay.
Sir, can you hear us?
There is a bit of an. Okay, so I that's what I was saying, that it will depend on the which. Yes, I can hear you. Yes.
Yeah. Now we can hear you, sir. If you can go back to the question, sir, I mean, which was because we couldn't hear you for the last 2 minutes.
Ayush.
Sir, now we can hear you. Now it's good, sir. So we can hear you now.
Okay.
Sir, can you try
So
with your video off once?
you
I
can
think
ask the next question. Okay. You can go to the next question.
Hello, can you hear us, sir?
Yes, now I can. There is some internet connectivity problem.
Okay, great, sir. So the next question is, Mr. Naga Prasad from People Combine, and the question is, how do we really advocate
You
with the
can go on to the
government?
next question.
Yeah, which is, how do we really advocate with the government right now? Because different state governments are right now sending notices to not collect fees during this time. So is there a way in which the schools can really advocate and work around with government on this?
I think instead of taking it up individually with the government, almost every state has this association of schools who should then approach the concerned ministry, the HRD ministry or the education ministry, and have a dialogue with them. Informally, what I hear is, I don't think any state government would advocate non-collection of fee, but right now, there are a few issues. Best would be to enter into a dialogue with the local officers there and see, take it forward from there.
Right. The next question is, sir, from the government schools. There are few government schools as well, leaders who are attending this session, and obviously, as we understand that in tier 3, 4 towns and remote areas of the country, even we have less internet and smartphones access. So while we're talking about online teaching and online learning, how do we really make education accessible to those students?
Yes, there are certain areas where, or areas where internet connectivity is not there. There are places where probably teachers may not have smartphones, even if they have internet connectivity, they would engagement with the children, with the parents. I think they keep saying visual connectivity may not be there, but I think telephone connectivity, it's always better to be in touch with those that you want to get engaged with. Be in touch with them. It would help. Engagement does help.
Right, right. So that was a list of queries that we've received from the form submissions. We are facing bit of issues to hear from you because of some internet connection issues right now. So if I may suggest, if we can move to Vishnu's session, which
Yes,
is the next, and probably in the meanwhile, if the internet gets better at your end, we can take live queries just after
fine,
15
fine.
minutes.
Absolutely
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
Absolutely
Okay,
fine.
sir. Okay. So moving next, we also have Vishnu Karthik. Vishnu is currently the CEO of Experiential Learning System and Director of the Heritage Group of Schools. Apart from being on the board of the Heritage Schools, he is also responsible for the new school initiative and strategic projects for the group, including curriculum development, instruction leadership, continuous school improvement, technology integration, and leadership development. Vishnu is today will be discussing how online while in the COVID crisis, if the school system is moving to or towards online teaching, how is it being done at Heritage? And if at all school leaders can learn from the practice being implemented at Heritage School right now. So over to you, Vishnu. You can share your presentation and please take your 15 minutes on this.
Thank you, Ayush, and thank you, Anilji. It is always a difficult task to speak after Anilji, but I'll try my best to provide some value to our participants. So I'm going to quickly share my screen because I've created a simple PowerPoint which I can email it to you all after this session. Just give me a minute.
Vishnu, we can't see the screen. Can you share the screen? We can't hear you. Yeah, we can see the screen, but we can't hear you. Vishnu, we can't hear you. We can't hear you, Vishnu. We're just waiting for Vishnu to join back. Some unfortunate situation, I think. We're just waiting for Vishnu to join back. I think, in the meanwhile, while Vishnu comes back, we also have Sangeeta Gulati, to take one of the sessions as well. I would request um, Sangeeta ma'am, if you could start your presentation and we could later come back to Vishnu.
Sure, I'll do that. I'll just start off. Yeah. So I'm going to share my screen. May I start?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So would you like to introduce me, or can I just start off?
Absolutely. So just to give a very brief background about Ms. Sangeeta Gulati, she's the head of mathematics department at Sanskriti School, New Delhi. A teacher of mathematics for the last 30 years. She has been teaching students in grade 11 and 12. She's a recipient of a National Award for using ICT for innovation in teaching. 2016, a Google Education Certified Innovator and Trainer. She's also a Fulbright Scholar. Welcome you, Sangeeta ma'am, over here. Over to you.
Thank you. Yeah. Can you confirm if you can see my screen?
See your screen? Yes, perfect. Absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Mr. Vansal and Mr. Anil Swarup sir. It's my honor to be among you to share some of my experiences and learning. So these are unique times, and we are all learning to cope with it in our best manner. We are looking at the possibility of making most of this time to ensure that our students do not lose in this process. So I'm here to share some of my experiences and some of the practices that we are trying to bring in use at Sanskriti School, and in otherwise my personal experience of what I think has worked for us. Starting at, looking at this situation and otherwise as well, the presence of a certain virtual classroom, which is a 24/7 virtual classroom, has become the need of the times. We would like to stay connected with our children and not be restricted to the walls of the school and the class. And in respect to that, I had the privilege and advantage of having technology by my side and be a powered user of Google Classroom. So not only me, the teachers in my school are power user of Google Classroom, and that has helped us to stay in touch even at in this situation. So what exactly is going to be is happening right now, or what works for us, is almost similar to what everyone is trying to do. You are trying to reach out to the children. So this is a portal through which you can do it. You're trying to teach children, share resources, and also maybe do some online sessions, not through Google Classroom, but with other apps of Google. So we are looking at that as a possibility to make sure, as Sir said earlier, that children are engaged, children are connected, and we are also able to bring and take the learning from our homes to the homes of our children. And in that process, there are few things that we have tried to follow and keep in mind. And one of them was to have an understanding that we cannot replicate our day-to-day model of teaching as we would do in a regular classroom situation. So we are looking at an understanding that if I have to do certain online teaching where the children are going to be sitting on their own and going through the content, then if it is a 30 minutes of instructional content, then try to give them into smaller pieces of multiple exercises, multiple tasks, multiple experiences as well. And also to give them a space where they would be able to process this information and then share it, whether it is in their notebooks. Most of them don't even have the new stationery, but the material that they have at home, if they can use that, or a digital content that can be created and can be shared with the children. But at the same time, we are keeping in mind that, yes, there are internet connectivity issues. So it may not be possible for them to do an online learning. That means I need not be sitting and facing them into a camera and they facing into the camera at the same time. So synchronous balanced with asynchronous learning, digital balance with certain non-digital extension and working need to be brought into the classroom. So that is the way that we are trying to follow. It is again an experiment. Sometimes it works, sometimes we relook at it, modify it. But what is working is to give children a chance to use technology to learn in a multiple set of ways. So just a simple Google Docs matched with Google Drawing can be used as an activity which is making children to think, do certain research, process that research, put it in the document, and then also do a certain drag and drop activity perhaps to show or reinforce their learning. This little lesson is one of the lessons, but one can then think about what other possibilities are there. This also is enriched with certain other hyperlinks, which would take them to a game perhaps and engage them in a task. So this was the basic model, but then we are now improving on this as the days go, because we are realizing that there are certain things that work and certain things that do not always work. We are also looking at that in a classroom situation, we as teachers are trained to just look at the faces of the children and figure out whether they have understood the lesson or not. Very often, I don't even have to ask a question and wait for children to raise their hand. I can see from their faces. But in this particular situation, when I am not able to see students in front of me, if I have given a task or sent them some content to read, I am not able to see whether they have understood it or not. And then in that case, certain short assessments are helping us to gauge that level of understanding. So a little 3 questions self-assessment test that is given, a quiz in form of Google Form quiz, is given after every lesson that has been taught, in fact, day-wise. And it is just 3 questions, but I get to see their response by the end of the day. I also get to see how many I've done, how many I've not done, and then also gauge where my next lesson should be. So it helps me direct my planning, our entire department planning, and we are able to then get a little more effective in the ways that we are reaching out to the students. At the same time, these quizzes also help me to send out the feedback and also give them a way to perhaps visit another resource, which would help them to learn if their answer was incorrect. So it is a multi-layered possibility that I am creating for the children to learn and relearn, as well as for me to know where they stand. Also, as Sir was saying earlier, we have to be very careful about children are sitting in isolation. They may have not have a sibling. They may be talking to their friends, but they are going through a very special time. So that social emotional learning has to be brought in. It could be only a simple question of, well, how are you feeling today? But at the same time, just to assess where they are right now in terms of the lesson could also be a short question that can be put, and you can then follow up from there. So whether they are finding the topic interesting, if they are not finding interesting, then I have to look at it and see what I need to do. How are they feeling today? That can be a question. And since these responses are all private, they come to me directly, so I will be able to see. The other students will not be able to see who is answering what. So it is something where the communication channels are opening, and I am able to interact and reach out to the students individually and say, okay, you said something about interesting happening, but you did not tell me what, or something which is disturbing you, but you did not tell me what. So that channel is open through Google Classroom for us. Again, videos are plenty. Everybody is aware of the resource, the treasure that we have in forms of the videos that are available for anyone to learn anything. And of course, when I say this sentence, Khan Academy rings in my ears, but that is their, I think, kind of tagline. But what you're looking at also are videos which are plenty available, but are not categorized. So as a teacher, it is my duty to share certain videos with the students, which I think are more appropriate, rather than just telling them, go and, well, learn on your own. So again, how do we share these videos? Again, I have to use a safe way. And that could be as simple as inserting video in a slide and trimming the video, and also making sure that the children are able to access it without the distraction of the advertisements or other comments, etc. There are multiple other ways. I can use videos in Google Forms. I can insert them and ask questions based on it. I can also record our own videos through a simple app like Screencastify, or insert it in the slide, or put it in the drive and then share from there. Also looking at certain other web tools which would help you to engage children. So engagement is the key here. Just watching a video will not make the learning happen. You have to make the children stop somewhere. And that is what Edpuzzle does. It makes lessons from videos. So you can insert questions, put a voice note, put an entire voiceover as well with very, very simple steps. So these are tools which would definitely make a big, big difference in the way the teaching is happening as a remote teaching and a remote learning process that is happening. So please see if any of these ideas work for you, then do try them out. Edpuzzle, as I was saying, allows you to track the progress of the students as well. So you can actually see how many of them have watched. So some of them may not have access to technology, so they may not have watched, or some of them are just not willing to watch. You also are able to see how much time they took, whether the answers that they gave were correct or not. So these are little ideas that might make and bring certain value to your attempts in making learning effective in the current situation. So I would like to stop here and will be happy to take any questions as you may have got. And yes, please feel free and try these ideas with your student. I hope that it would help you in making your classes valuable. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Some mind-blowing ideas, and how you have really used technology in such a simple and effective way to deliver education. I think just inspirational stuff at this hour of time.
Thank you.
You know, we are opening up the platform right now to ask any queries. Please just comment on YouTube comment box, and we'll take up your query for Sangeeta ma'am right now. So we'll allow 30 seconds for any queries to be asked. So one of the queries from Ms. Gurmeet Kaur Sindhu is, how much duration of online classes are recommended? You know, I mean, on an average basis, what is the recommendation that educators should look at delivering online classes? Because there is a difference between how a student really learn in a classroom environment physically, and while they are, you know, really learning through screens, you know, through mobile phones and smartphones. Do you have any recommendation for the duration of online classes to be taken?
Yeah, a very valid question, in fact, right now, because we cannot replicate the school model in this situation. So we have to be careful that we do not, say, I'm going to have a timetable from 8 to 2. That is something which is not feasible in this present situation. But yes, some of us, even in our school, we are trying to do, but for different levels. So you have to first look at which age group you are talking about. And also start slow, start with maybe 2 subjects in a particular day, give them maybe 50 minutes or 30 minutes of a lesson as an online transaction. That means you are actually teaching them through certain app. And then supplement it with the tasks which the children can do over the entire day at their own pace, in their own ways, as and when they have access to technology. So there is no formula for it right now, but age, the class in which the students are, that is the first most thing that has to be kept in mind. And also remember that to make the children just sit and listen to you in an environment like this will be very, very difficult. So they may be on the call, but they are not with you. So let's not, think that they will be staying glued to the web session if there is an online session. So that's why I said mix of the synchronous and asynchronous activities.
So the learning here is basically breaking classes more often, and depending on the age and the class, the screen time should be, and the classes, the duration of the online classes should be scheduled accordingly.
Absolutely.
We are getting 2 queries actually with a similar topic, which is, how are you assessing student online right now? Or are you really assessing student online right now while you are teaching them?
That is, I think, a question which every teacher and perhaps an educational leader is thinking about, but maybe not every teacher, because we know that that kind of an assessment is not possible. And we should not even expect that kind of a assessment to be done in this situation. But yes, the self-assessment forms that I talked about, that is one way that you are judging how the children are progressing, and you are also giving a chance to student to learn and relearn, because these quizzes they can attempt again as well. So if they access a resource attached to the feedback, they might learn and they might want to try again. So that kind of assessment makes sense. But I'm not at all going to say that let's have a hardcore exam right now. That's not the way we are looking at.
A very interesting question from Veena Sani is, will the teachers get the same satisfaction while delivering teaching online? What is your take in it as a teacher?
Surprisingly, this is my 10th day today. We had our 10th day of online teaching with our grade 12. We have yet to start with our grade 11, but we also had the first day for our middle school today and junior school today, where junior school didn't have a structured online teaching, but their other classes had an interaction with their class teachers today. And believe it or not, it's very satisfying. And there are moments when you start the class and you want to talk to them. What happened? Where have you been? What did you do in these off days? They had a break of 7 days before this. And there are days when, kids want to share something. And so it's very satisfying. But yes, it's very strange as well, because now we have to prod them to unmute themselves. They do not unmute themselves. So that part is as well there.
Another very interesting, I would say this is a bit more specific, but I think, we'll take this query as one of the last query and move on, which is, if you could guide, just give a very overall framework. If you can take example of your own methodology right now, and how are you really structuring schedule right now? Formulation of schedule, and while covering most of the subject. So someone from VIPS Amroha has asked this question, as in, how do we really schedule, create our scheduling strategy right now, and while we cover up all the subjects?
Yeah, so again, you can look at subjects which require more time and understanding. So maths always takes the priority in that. You have to have more time for maths. So that could be kept in mind as to which class, which level needs more subject. Languages, we are trying to shelve them for a minute and for this time and say, okay, we'll come back to the languages if the situation continues, because languages, children can be given something which is asynchronous. They can sit at home in their own time and they can learn. So that way kind of scheduling need to be done. Then second thing, even when you have the lesson plan in your curriculum, annual curriculum, which is, kind of a document that you made, relocate it and see which topics go better in a digital form. Which chapter, which subject, which topic is taught better in a digital form, and which one doesn't go gel with this environment. So change the order of the topics as well. That itself is going to make a difference.
That's really valuable. That's really valuable. I think we have, questions keep, just coming in, but, with shortage of time, we'll probably take up these queries and give it to you and share it to you. If you can answer it back, we can share it with all the audience via mail as well later on. But thank you so much, ma'am. Really, really appreciate you giving us time and conducting this session. I think it's a really, really valuable session for all the educators here, especially teachers. I would say a lot of teachers are attending from across the country. And I believe this will be a very, very valuable lesson for them, honestly. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
So everyone, so moving on, and we will now get back to Vishnu. We had a unfortunate blockout in the middle, and I hope, Vishnu, you are all set again. Can you hear us?
Ayush, can you hear me now?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
I have no clue what happened, but just that the audio conked off.
No worries. Please continue with your screen sharing PPT, and if you can take over.
One thing I'm planning to do, I'm not going to share the PPT in a presentation format. I'm just going to do a drag. Maybe that's one of the reasons the audio got muted. Let me just try another way to share this PPT.
Sure. Yeah, maybe don't do full screen, maybe. Yeah.
I'm not doing full screen share.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you and we can see the presentation as well. This is good enough. Perfect.
Yes, it's
Over
because
to you.
of screen mode. Okay, so over to me. So thank you so much, Ayush. Thank you, Sangeeta, Anil, for the wonderful sessions before. In fact, Sangeeta's would have ideally been a great compliment to my session after my session, because it is more technical, it's rich in details. Mine is largely addressed to the school owners, school heads, and mine is more of a strategic direction in which one could take virtual learning platform, especially in context to the journey we have taken at the heritage schools. I wish I had more time. I had so much to share, but we only have 10 minutes, and plus we have to open for more Q&A. So I'm going to share a 10-minute trailer of what we have done. A quick background for those of you who may not know what the heritage schools is. We are a group based out of Delhi NCR with about 3 campuses. 1 campus is coming up. We are a project-based learning school. We started the technology journey about 10 years back, and we made several mistakes in it. I should tell you, any mistake possible which can be done by a school, we have done that. So in that sense, we have emerged wiser. We're also very cognizant of what technology can do and can't do. We firmly believe that technology is an amplifier of what you already have. So if a school has great pedagogical practices, then technology is a great complement. It can amplify those good practices. But if a school has poor pedagogical practices, then technology is going to make things worse. So I'm very circumspect of where technology works and where it doesn't work. About 3 years back, because we are a project-based learning school and there is an inherent desire to make students leaders of their own learning, we wanted to create a portal the way most US universities would have for their undergrad and postgrad courses. We wanted to create a portal for each course subject, and we created a learning management platform. And back then, we didn't know about Corona or shutdowns. We just wanted students to spend more time on doing pre-reads before coming to class, so that the precious 45 minutes in the class, we spent more on deeper discussions, conversation, and reflections, rather than focusing on content which could have consumed before the class to the portal. But fortunately for us, when the Corona started about 2-3 weeks back, it was a quick shift for us into it, because we already had a framework in place, at least from 6 to 12. Of course, from nursery to 5, we never had a LMS, and our teachers just got on into the platform over the last 3 weeks. But before I get into what we did and how we approached the virtual learning platform, it's extremely important for school owners, education leaders, and teachers to understand, why should schools continue with online learning? You know, one argument with many parents have thrown, not just in our school, but in several schools, is that, hey, why didn't you just shut it down, especially for junior kids? There's too much of screen time. Let them play, let them be relaxed. We have office work to do and we're not able to manage kids. Why would you force us to do an online learning? But there is sound research from around the world which tells you that any interruption in learning, especially even during summer vacations, leads to significant losses in learning goals, especially around literacy and numeracy. In fact, any learning losses of more than 18 days has deep impact around reading levels of students, especially students which come from marginalized or economically weaker sections of our community. So learning loss is a very serious risk. In fact, for every summer vacation, any good teacher would know this. Any summer vacation, when students come back, especially in the junior classes, you can significantly see up to a month worth of learning loss. In fact, we go to Brookings, which is a large think tank based out of the US. They've done some significant research around this, around learning losses during school vacation and school breaks. And there are significant research papers. I would urge you to read it and share with your parents also. This is one of the key reasons why schools like us should continue online learning in some format or the other. In fact, even simple things like sending SMSs to parents, asking them to remind them to read to their child every day for 40 minutes has significant impact on reading and writing especially. The second big reason I always urge schools should do some form of learning continuity is on rituals and routines. Children feel these are stressful times, and one of the remedies or strategies to manage stress is to help students or children go through rituals and routines. If rituals are not there, then children are not in a safe space. In fact, if parents have to choose between providing time to their kids during their work schedule at home, as against providing a structure to their kids, I would strongly argue, and science also backs this, prioritize structure and routine for your children. So that's another reason why school should continue, if not the exact timetable, but some form of structure, routine, and predictability in a child's life. And third thing, I think Anil ji talked about it, is social connections. In these stressful times when students are sitting at home, we don't know what kind of pressures those families are going through at this point in time. The only source of warmth, love, and affection is social connections. I think these are the three key reasons why schools should continue some form of online learning during shutdowns. And by the way, I'm beginning to learn in today's news as it comes in. I think the lockdown is going to get extended much beyond than what we had expected, especially for schools. So this is going to be a long journey for us in terms of providing support virtually to our kids. In heritage schools, when we looked at the online learning, and by the way, I'll send this PowerPoint to you by email through Ayush and FICCI. We use the 3 R's framework in helping our community understand how do you approach virtual learning. And this is borrowed from William Daggett's work of when he defined what should good learning look like. He talked about there are 3 R's. Usually the traditional 3 R's are reading, writing, and arithmetic. But William Daggett said, and in a seminal work, that the 3 R's more important than reading, writing, and arithmetic is relationships, relevance, and rigor. And it should happen in this order. The order is important. Many traditional schools start from the bottom. They start with rigor, relevance, and relationships. But a good learning experience should start from relationships, then move on to relevance, and then move on to rigor. And this is something which is valid in a physical classroom or in a virtual classroom. And I'll talk a bit about how did we approach each of these in 2 simple steps, given that we only have 7 or 5 more minutes to complete this presentation. The first R in a virtual relationship is that for us, the purpose of virtual classroom is actually not content, it's not subject, it is not reading, it's not writing. At this point, the purpose of virtual classroom is to exhibit care. And I think if there's one message I want to leave the audience is this. Care is the single biggest purpose of why we should continue this online learning, because students have a certain social network, a certain social anchoring, and that gets lost because of a shutdown.
I think we have lost you, Vishnu. Can you hear us? Vishnu, can you hear us? I request just to wait for 10 seconds if you can get Vishnu back again. I think he's disconnected once again.
One of the expectations at school is that every teacher has to call each parent in a fortnight. So I think we just completed a fortnight. We're entering the second fortnight. I just got the reports yesterday that all teachers have connected with parents. In case of special PTMs, for example, we've gone to a Google Hangout or if it's most parents, just a phone call. It takes 3-4 minutes for each parent, but it makes a long way in building some credibility, building the relationship with parents. And parents really appreciate people reaching out to Vishnu,
we can't see your screen right now. Can you reshare it again?
Okay. Is it okay now?
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Wonderful. Anyways, we all have to experience some of the ills or the gaps in technology. I think all our teachers are experiencing these kind of gaps and call dropping off, bandwidth issues and things like that. So anyways, that's my picture on relationships, but exhibiting care and connecting with parents. The second thing which we focus on in a virtual platform is relevance. It is extremely important in any learning process for students to know why are they learning, what are they learning. In fact, more than what are they learning, it's important for them to know that why is this content important? Why is this process important? Why is this topic important? And in a virtual learning platform, it is extremely difficult to replicate the real classroom. I think Sangeeta answered one of the very important questions. Don't try to replicate the exact timetable. That's the mistake many schools do, including ours. The first thing they got to do, every teacher has to do, is to look at the lesson plan and see what is the core I want students to learn. What is worth learning among the 100 things they got to learn? We have to be extremely realistic at this point in time. We have to know what to drop with respect to what not to teach our students. So for the first exercise teachers have to do is to figure out what is worth learning right now and focus only on those two core things. If you ask me, I think given the challenges of technology, given how new this medium is of learning for most of our kids and students, I would say just focus on reading, writing, and numeracy. I think rest all will fall in place. The second thing I think we should do, given that the virtual learning platform is not the most engaging ways of learning, is design self-interest projects, which essentially means is that since we know that this shutdown is for about 3 or 4 more weeks, or it could be longer too, it could be best that we make students start working on a project which is very interesting to them. So it could start with a teacher spending half-hour conversation with the student or group of students in a small group and asking them what is really important, which they care about. What is the project they really want to work on? And then the teacher can define simple boundaries to do that project. And you give them time to do that project with periodic check-ins of how the project is progressing. This way, you give opportunities for students to move away from the screen and look at other mediums on their own to complete that project. I think that's the second 2 points I have on relevance. The third R which is again a very critical R, which is rigor. I think I talked about the first part of the rigor is rhythms and routines. That do we have a structure for the students when they get up? What do they do in the first 15 minutes of the school? How much of synchronous or asynchronous time? If that is decided across the school, then it is extremely predictable and manageable for the student and so for the parent. There are some schools I see where the teachers are at freedom to do their own rhythms or the structure. I think it's extremely dangerous, especially when students are still getting used to the platform. In the initial months, I think it is best that there is a school, at least grade-wise structures, and that is common. And you have a complete understanding with the parent, teachers, and students that how many hours, at what time they go to log in, what time they go to check in back, and when do they go to do offline work or asynchronous work. The second part of rigor is also create sustainable structures. One of the mistakes we made initially was we had so much of screen time and synchronous learning, it took a toll on our students. In fact, I think many schools do that mistake. In my own little research, when we connected with schools in Hong Kong and Shanghai, I think everybody goes through that journey that they start with a lot of synchronous time, but it is not effective. In fact, great virtual learning platforms have more asynchronous time and less of synchronous time. I think you should start with what is manageable for your community. And if you want to expand, you can add on later. In fact, the most important thing in a virtual learning is not the content, is actually assessments. I think Sangeeta gave some very wonderful ideas. The more important thing for teachers is to figure out the right way to assess what it's learning. Kids will figure out how to learn. I think teachers have to be more worried about how do I assess how they learn and how do I give feedback. So those are the 3 R's. One last thing I want to share, especially to the school owners and education leaders. If there is one gift you want to share with your teachers, it is the permission to make mistakes. So when we started about 3 weeks back, when we shut down our school a week before the government shut down, because we were kind of predicting this is going to happen. And in the training, the first thing we told our teachers is that, hey, please be assured that you can make any mistake you want to. Don't be scared of making mistakes. We gave the confidence to teachers to say that I will stand by the teachers, even if parents come and complain to me that this teacher has been ineffective. That easing of pressure is extremely important for teachers as they are starting their journey of dealing with a new platform. As much as that, we also have to create helplines, a support group to provide webinar trainings to teachers, create some expert groups to provide one-on-one coaching to teachers. Of course, many schools do those. But I think collectively, the message should go out to the teacher community that it is okay to make mistakes. I can go on and on, but a short, better way is that you could also visit our website. And in our website, you would find a tab called Experiential XLS Virtual Learning Program. And it is a tab, and you click on the tab, you'll have a lot of resources which were built for teachers, parents, and other schools around how do you make your online learning more effective. There are guidelines, procedure, behavioral policies for online learning, for example. Of course, some of them we have created and some of them we have shamelessly copied from other schools. I would urge you to copy it from us for the benefit of all our students. I think I'm done with my time, Ayush, and I'll open the floor for more questions and answers if there are any.
Thank you, Vishnu. If anyone has any query, please put your queries on YouTube Live, and we could simply take up those queries. While in the meanwhile, there are a couple of queries, Vishnu. So one of them being, what can be best done for pre-primary schools with online learning? This is Minu Matthew who has asked this. Would you like to answer this?
Okay, so in fact, the biggest challenge in this entire spectrum, and I'm sure Sangeeta would agree with me, it's very easy to run, relatively easier to run middle and senior online classes. The biggest challenge is the junior classes, the primaries especially. While there is enough research which talks about the need for connecting the learning process, there also research which says about the ills of screen time, for example, be sitting in one place, for example. So there are, I think every community has to find its balance. Better ways to do, what we do is that we do a lot of reading and writing work around for junior classes, like read alouds, for example, getting the teacher to record a reading book and sharing it. It makes a big difference as against using another video to show it, because when kids see their own teacher doing it, it makes it more powerful. The second thing which we do a lot is right now is also using platforms like Padlets, for example, where you could exchange artwork, for example. There are platforms of performing art, visual arts also, for example.
What is it called? Can you name it again?
PADLET. In fact, in our website, there are a lot of resources we have listed for primary school too. Anybody can write to me. They can also tweet on my handle, and I'll be happy to respond or put you in touch with those resources. So primary school, yeah, some of these things which you could do is this. Thankfully, there are a lot of reading resources for the younger kids, which is available, especially in the last 4-5 weeks. And that's something we could use in it.
Right.
I have 1 10-second more response to this. More than kids, I would imagine in the primary school, we should work with the parents. As much as you have a curriculum for the kids, I think you should have some curriculum for parents too.
Very rightly said.
How do you read alouds, for example? How do you talk about numeracy with your kids? How do you have safe conversations with them? Important dinner time. So we've put a curriculum in itself for parents. At least one webinar for parent every week is what we are doing right now.
No, very, very rightly said. I think they need to be involved much more now than ever. And that's definitely a very value add addition. So Vishnu, because of shortage of time and because you're already at 6:04 now, if there are more queries, we'll send it to you again, and we'll respond it through emails to everyone. Thank you so much again for taking out time today, and we'll send out the queries to you for your response on it. Thank you so much, Vishnu, again. Thank you. Moving on, the next session is going to be taken by me itself, and which is around why there is dire need now on moving and looking at career guidance than ever before, right? And I'll be using a very short PPT, and then go to the platform to really give a brief on how the online career guidance right now is very important right now during this time in crisis. So just to give a quick background about our organization, we are India's only multilingual career guidance platform. We have a team of about 847 career counselors. We have created a content on career counseling for about 1,057 hours. The content is on 551 careers, about 21,000 colleges, various scholarships all around from India and the world, and all the entrance exams in the country. We work with a lot of schools, government, United Nations agencies across the country and Middle East and East Africa as well. A few of them are here. The solution that we have is a fourfold solution, which is focused on 4 elements of career counseling, which starts with career awareness through the career curriculum. wherein we have created the entire content on different careers, colleges, exams, and scholarships. The second is a psychometric assessment test, wherein we assess student on aptitude, personality, and interest, which come up with a personalized report for students so that they can effectively understand what is the right career for them. Now, the third step is matchmaking between the world of careers and the right career for student basis their own strength and interest, which is we call our counseling sessions, which is delivered through our counselors who have been trained through our certification in career counseling program. And lastly, we then help them in the entire application process to colleges, scholarships, and bank loan. So it's an entire full stack career solution, which starts right from career awareness to knowing themselves, to understanding the right career, to applying to colleges and scholarship. So coming back to the topic quickly. So the three main reasons why we need to really provide career guidance to students during and post COVID time is that the future of work is going to change, right? The careers of tomorrow, as we say, will change because of COVID crisis. There are a lot of job losses happening. The industries dynamics are changing, and because of this change, students really need to be guided, right, on how the world of career would look like in the next 3 to 4 years, and even in the next 5 to 10 years. So students currently studying in class 9, 10th, 11th, and 12th really need to be guided on this. The second is reason is the uncertainty and delay in college admission process. Because of the entire COVID crisis, as we understand that schools and colleges are closed, the entire uncertainty is making the college change the entire selection process, right? The timelines are changing. So the students who are right now passing out of class 12 really need guidance on this dynamic change. You know, what should we do with the admission process? What should be our backup options? And the third, which is very important again, is a dynamic study abroad environment. Because of the change in international higher education now, it won't be the same in the next 2 to 3 years, especially because different visa rules are changing. Countries might not be open towards looking at a student from overseas countries. There has to be a plan for students to create a backup option. So these are the three main reasons why we believe that it is very important to provide career guidance inside the school. And how can it be delivered online, right? So while we moved online, we see it as a six-fold solution. They can be provided with an online web platform wherein they can access all these dynamic information on careers, colleges, admission process. The school teachers and counselors can be trained online itself to deliver career counseling sessions online. Students can be exposed to various careers through industry experts and alumni, right? That's a third thing that can be done through online career guidance initiative. The admission process alert, so students need to receive the alerts which can be sent digitally to them in the entire application process as how it's moving right now, what is being changed in terms of the important dates, application form process, etc., etc. And the last two is group counseling session via different online webinar, right? So these are the 5 to 6 ways in which right now career guidance can be delivered online to school students. And to really help schools for delivering this entire program online in terms of career guidance, especially to students who are right now passing class 12, who just appeared for class 12 board exams in March. We have come out with an entire campaign to help all schools in the country at no cost at all, no terms and condition attached to it, wherein we are helping schools in 4 ways. Number one is that we are conducting various online counseling sessions via webinar. We are calling different universities from across the world who are coming and talking about the changes that they're going through in the COVID-19 crisis. Industry experts are coming and talking about the change in industry, how the career is changing for students. We are also organizing online career fair with different universities, which can help students in a personalized way for application process. The second is that we recently launched an Industry Connect Hub, seeing this crisis, wherein alumni tracking and mentoring can happen for schools now, wherein we are now personalizing the entire mentoring facility for students, and they can chat and video chat with students, on the platform itself with any industry professional from their own school alumni or outside school alumni. So that can give them better exposure to different careers right now. Third, we are also giving our entire career content at free of cost to class 12 students. The entire 1057 hours of content is being given to class 12 students absolutely at no cost till the time we get into a college, right? So that is our commitment on this program right now. And lastly, we conduct a lot of online training sessions through online webinars for school counselors and teachers. So over there, we are giving counselor dashboard to school teachers and counselors as well to access this entire content, and also they are able to access the entire online training as well. So these are the 4 things with which we are helping the students right now. And one of the key things in the entire array of our system is the platform wherein we are hosting the entire content and giving the entire career curriculum at free of cost to students. So this is the dashboard that the student and the counselor gets. There are 4 array of content, which is the career, colleges, exams, and scholarship. In the career section, we have posted 550 careers from all the professional and vocational field. Different clusters are there, like science and mathematics. Different career pathways are there. And in each of these pathways, we have hosted the entire content related to what the career is about, what are the specialization tracks in career, how can I enter this career? Very important question, that what after 10, what subjects, what degree at master's and PhD level, and different entry pathways for the students to get into it. So to become a neuroscientist, I can take up a bachelor degree in bio as well and get into it, or I can do a BSc in psychology and get into it, or I can even do a MBBS and get into it. So what are all the possible entry pathways for a student to get into those career? And then what is the expense required in that career? What is the minimum and maximum education required? What is the future prospect of this career? So we are doing a future prospect model projection over there, along with the earning capacity and the potential of this career in future for the student as well. Lastly, we are also helping them understand who are the role models in this career, and what has been their growth trajectory, what has been their professional journey, and whether this career is suitable for special ability students or not. So this entire platform gives this entire content on different careers. From here, then I can go to see the entire colleges and universities around the world, which have the courses from where I can lead to this career, all the colleges and the courses over here that I can see. And for any of these colleges and courses, then I can see the entire detail on that course, which is what is the eligibility, what is the intake info, what are the entrance exam, what is admission information, what is the cutoff required. All these detail are here right on the fingertip for the student. And the second piece is the entrance exam. So then I can go to the entrance exam section, and wherein I can see dynamic information on different entrance exam. The green button, yellow button, give the information to the student where the form dates are open or closed right now. And for all the these entrance exams, so there's an 1100 entrance exam list over there. It's an endless list which a student can see. And for all these entrance exams, we put up the entire information on the general information, the eligibility, the exam pattern, what are the participating colleges, exam centers, and the important dates, which is updated as on minute. So in this way, all the entrance examinations can be seen from the country. And lastly, what are the financing option for me in terms of the scholarships, school level competitions, higher education scholarships, all of that is also listed over here. If you could see, or even the school level competitions are listed, like Green Olympiad by Terry, and the entire information on that is also listed over here. So that was a brief on the platform wherein a student can get this entire information. We are offering this program to class 12 students of all the schools in the country at free of cost. And after this session, we will be sharing an email with all the schools who have attended the session today. There will be a link which you can just share with your class 12 students, and they can access this entire platform at free of cost until they get into a college. So that's a very briefly, just about how you could really leverage the entire career counseling intervention in the schools right now online, and how can iDream Career help you in this entire intervention. Before moving on, I would like to come back, and there are some questions that were there, which was put together for Anil sir. Sir, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes,
sir.
I'm here.
Great, sir. So probably I'll take a few queries now, which we were not able to take up before. So one of the suggestions which is coming from a lot of schools, in which they are, saying and suggesting is,
again,
can we? Yeah, can you
very
hear me?
Poor
Sir?
connectivity. I think I can't hear you very clearly.
Okay. So no worries, sir. Then I will host the queries to you, and you could reply, and we could respond to the audience later on. Then.
Yes, I can. In between there's a lot. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Okay. No worries, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for your time today. We'll send out the queries to you, sir. I would, meanwhile, now request Mr. Praveen Raju, co-chair of FICCI ARISE and founder of Suchitra Academy. Yeah, so I would now request Mr. Praveen Raju, co-chair FICCI ARISE and founder Suchitra Academy, to give a thank you note and please conclude the session. Would really request you. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ayush. It was certainly a very insightful session so far. And one thing that is emerging here is that the engagement levels with what the teachers can do with the children is one of the most important things, which Vishnu as well as Sangeeta had also highlighted, which Anil Swarup ji had in his opening keynote addressed on that. That is one of the very important things that a lot of us as educators would be glad. It was very nice to know. And the second important thing is that Anil Swarup ji also mentioned about mental health being such a very important thing. Sir, I think this is one of the biggest challenges during this time with the shutdown being extended beyond the April 15th. So I was very happy to see Sangeeta's presentation as well on SEL, so social emotional learning as well. So I'd like to add a couple of more points here. Is that daily morning meditation and yoga would help. Just for 15-20 minutes we have been doing in our school, and just silence for younger children, and a little bit of meditation for at least 5 minutes would help a lot. So it's always great to hear Anil Swarup ji always formally, informally is such a bundle of knowledge and guidance and experience. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate your time. And then Vishnu, it was very nice, as you said. You have given us very, very good insights into how we can, as educators, from a higher level, think about conducting these online sessions. And one which really caught my attention, and all of you should be very mindful, is that care is the simple purpose why we should continue to do the online sessions. So Vishnu, thank you very much. As always, you're very great to hear. Thank you. And Sangeeta, I think what you have shown in the very brief presentation, how you should use engagement tools, drag and drop, small games and assessments at the end of the day is also very, very helpful. I'm sure all our participants would learn a lot from that. And Ayush, thank you for putting this together as well. And in these times of difficult times, options, plan A, plan B, plan C for children is very, very important. I'm sure not many students are thinking about that, and I'm sure I would encourage all the educators around here to send that message to the parents of grade 12, and it would be very, very useful. So thank you very much. We at FICCI ARISE are very happy to be associated and doing this webinar. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Praveen. Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone. With this, we conclude the session. Thank you, Mr. Swarup, once again. Thank you, Sangeeta ma'am. Thank you, Samreen, FICCI ARISE, to collaborate with iDream Career and schedule this session. We would like to end this session now. Thank you. Have a good evening and be safe.